Hi, welcome to Board Game Express. Today we're going to look at the first in our Uwe Rosenberg series, Bohnanza. So Bohnanza is his first major game back in the 1990s, and this is going to be a little bit smaller than his usual fare. It's essentially a set collecting trading game where you're going to be collecting different sets of beans in order to score the most points, which are scored with these coin cards in the back. Now, to set up, everyone's going to get 5 cards. So I'm going to pretend there's 3 people here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And when you pick up your cards, you have to be careful. You have to keep everything in the same order. So the game, you're going to be playing cards from the front of your hand, and you're going to be drawing them into the back of your hand. So it's actually very important that you're not allowed to move anything around. So just kind of keep that in mind while you're playing. Now, on a player's turn, you're going to do 4 things. First, you are going to plant the first card or the front card in your hand. So you got to put it out here. Each player has 2 imaginary fields that can hold one and only one type of bean of any number of cards, but only one type. You may, if you want to, plant a second one. So in this case, I am going to choose to plant again, and now both of my fields have something in them. Now the second thing you do on your turn is you reveal the top 2 cards of the draw deck. And now this is going to constitute sort of a trading pit, so to speak. And during this part of the game, it's wide open trading, negotiation, whatever deal making you think you can get away with. So the only thing that is required is that you can only trade the cards that are out, the 2 that are out here that you put up, and the cards in your hand. You may not trade, no one can trade any of the cards that they've planted down onto their fields. Another thing is that everyone has to trade only with the active player. So if it's my turn, my 2 opponents cannot make a deal with each other. I guess there's nothing keeping them from making a promise to make a deal, but whatever. Now, you make whatever deals you want. You can even make trades for nothing in return, what you can call a donation. Now, everything is consensual. You're not allowed to force another player to take a card that they don't want. So if you say, hey, I don't want this, do you want it? They have to say yes. All right, so let's say, in this case, maybe let's just say I trade this person here. You know, I give him a wax bean, and he says, I'll trade you a stink bean, all right? Now, all the cards that you've traded sort of go in this little limbo area, and they cannot be traded again. So I now cannot say, hey, you know, this guy wants to make me a great offer for the stink bean. I think I'm going to give it to him instead. Once they're here, they're kind of locked in. Now, at the end of the trading era, you must plant every single card that you traded with. So this player would plant that. I would have to plant the stink bean into a matching field. And the card that I was not able to get rid of, I now am forced to plant that as well. So here is where the next thing happens. You can only have 2 kinds of beans at one time in your 2 fields. So if you are forced to plant something and it doesn't match, now you have to what's called harvest and score one of your fields. Now, the rule is you may not choose to harvest a single card unless all of your fields are single cards. So right now, if I had to plant this green bean, I would have to get rid of these stink beans. And that is where we need to talk about the numbers on your cards. Now, the number in the upper corner here is a reference to how many are in the deck. So there are 12 soybeans in the deck. The bottom is a scoring chart. So what that says is depending on the number of cards you've harvested, it is going to be worth 1, 2, 3, or 4 points, these gold cards. Now, the stink bean requires 3. I only have 2. So when I harvest it, I am actually not able to score. Had I been able to collect a third, I don't know if anyone has one. Not at the moment. I will not be able to score, but if I had made a third, I would. Now keep in mind, I actually did have a stink bean in my hand, but remember, I was not allowed to play it. You're only allowed to trade, or you are allowed to put out the cards that you revealed. All right, so I would have to discard these for nothing, and then now I get to plant this green bean, and now these are my 2. Now another thing you can do on your turn later in the game is if you manage to collect 3 money at any point, you can spend 3 money, so discard your points, and you can buy a third bean field. And this would allow you to plant 3 instead of just 2. All right. The last thing you do on your turn is you will draw 3 cards, remember, into the back of your hand. So be very careful not to change the order of anything. So 1, 2, 3, and then the next person gets to go. And each player in turn order will take their turn, so on and so forth, until at some point your draw deck is going to run out. At that point, shuffle the discard pile, make a new deck. You are going to shuffle through 2 times, and then you're going to run through the deck a 3rd time. After you've run through the deck 3 times, that triggers the game end. So whoever's turn the deck runs out on, and even if it's in the middle of the turn, they get to finish their entire turn, and then that's it. Whoever scored the most coins is going to be the winner, and if there's a tie, whoever has the most cards remaining in hand is going to be the tiebreak. Now, one final thing before you get started, the game is going to change depending on the number of players that you have. So 3 to 7, there's even rules for a 2-player. So what you want to do is go into your rule book, look in the very back, there's a tiny paragraph that says whether you're playing with 3, 4, 5, or 6, or 7, this is what you should do to set up your deck. So minor things like whether you have a 3rd field, how much it costs, normally costs 3, how many cards people get, etc., etc. All right, and now you know how to play Bohnanza.